Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. The off season is over and college football is back. And this week we've got a very, very special game to announce and to predict and preview. That is the Georgia Tech Yellowjackets versus the Florida State Seminoles, two what I would consider prominent programs in the ACC. Georgia Tech maybe not as big as Florida State right now, but nonetheless, you still know about the Yellow Jackets year after year. I'm Nathan Johnston here with my co-host Brad Hopkins. It's time to break the huddle. Brad, our first game day preview and prediction of the year. Such an exciting matchup going to Ireland to play this game. College football going international. Curious to see how the crowd turns out. We know that Georgia Tech fans will be there. We know Florida State fans will be there. But I'm really excited to see the Ireland fan base come out and support American football and what all comes with that. With that being said, Brad, I'll turn it over to you. What are your expectations for these two programs starting off the year hot? And who do you have winning this ACC game to start the 2024 season kickoff?
Yeah, Nate, man, it feels good. It feels good to finally be back, And I want to just real quick thank our subscribers here on Break the Huddle. We've been going at this a little over the year. And if you can't tell, we both love college football. We love to get to do this as just friends. And so thank y'all for the support. Please continue to support Break the Huddle. We've got game predictions coming up, every week of the season. So thank y'all so much. We love doing this. And it's finally good to be done with talking season. I guess, we're talking about this game and then we've got, that's it. So it feels good. Yeah, Nate. So first of all, I want to hit on, I've been on the message boards and it sounds like from looking at it, it's going to be, I would say probably the majority Florida State fans. I think Georgia Tech is going to travel, but I think the FSU fans are really, really going to be heavily represented in Ireland. Man, this game is fun because you're talking about a Florida State team that they have just been they keep getting better and better under Mike Norvell. Of course, a 13-0 regular season last year, left out of the playoff. Not going to get into that, and then of course a rough Orange Bowl game. But this Florida State program is riding high right now, and then Georgia Tech. I mean, you could say that they're riding high as well. They had a great first year under Brent Key, who I just think has done a fantastic job. That's his alma mater. Excuse me, and he has just really, really got a lot of good excitement around that program. They, of course, went 7-6 a year ago and won their bowl game. So I think a game in the ACC that it obviously has early season, it's early season implications for both of these teams that they both want to get off to a 1-0 start. I want to start off with the Yellow Jackets real quick and just kind of talk about them. Looking at their depth chart, Nate, the first thing that stands out to me, the one that was released, is Georgia Tech's size on the offensive line. Their smallest guy is, and this is from their center right guard, 6'4", 310. Both their tackles are in the 6'6" range. Their other guards in the 6'6" range. So, you think about what Paul Johnson had on the offensive line. Up until now, what Brent Key is doing, and that's especially his offensive line play. They've gotten bigger, they've gotten more physical, and look, Georgia Tech, not a huge NIL school, and it's because of the academics and everything. It's tough to recruit there, but I gotta say, really, really impressed with what he has done. Obviously, the quarterback, and we've talked about him here on Break the Huddle all off season, is Haynes King. This was a guy, a true dual threat, transferring over from Texas A&M, and I was so impressed with him last year. And I think they're going to continue to look for ways to let him use his legs, whether that's read options, RPOs. I think even some quarterback draws and quarterback powers. They're going to let him go to work, with his legs. Jumping on the defensive side of the football. On their two deep, their nose tackle, Zeke Biggers, listed at 6'6", 320, a big guy, and he's going to have to come ready to play. So that's kind of previewing Georgia Tech. And then Florida State, and they're not going to spend a ton of time on them. Florida State's a team that we've talked about a lot. I want to point out one guy on offense, and that's Malik Benson. We talked about him in our transfer portal wide receiver episode. He's coming over from Alabama. He's got track star speed. I look for him to make a couple of plays in this one. But the thing that stands out, man, is that Florida State defensive line. Of course, they bring back Patrick Payton, who last year was the in 2022 was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. Last year had 7 sacks, 14 and a half tackles for loss. He's on one side. Former 5-star Georgia signee Marvin Jones Jr. is on the other side. So these two are going to, they're going to test that Georgia Tech front. They're going to test Haynes King. But I think Florida State, that's been kind of the question mark to me is, they lost a lot. They lost a lot on defense, but kind of looking at it, I'm not ready to say they just, I don't think it's a rebuild. I'm not fully ready to say that they are just, reloaded, but I think they're headed that way. So my prediction for this game, look, I think Georgia Tech's got a lot of excitement, as does Florida State, but I think Georgia Tech is obviously the underdog. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at the Seminoles. They know that they're going to have to make some plays. They're going to have to create some havoc, create some turnovers in this one. I think you're going to see Georgia Tech come out extremely aggressive. Nate, I'm interested to see what DJ does. I think he's going to have a few butterflies because he's got something to prove. That we've seen him in this conference. He's had some good moments. He's had some lows. So I think you could see some butterflies. So getting into my prediction, I think Georgia Tech keeps this game extremely, extremely close until late to, midway to late in the third quarter. I think these two teams, I won't say talent-wise they're even, but I think Georgia Tech is really, really going to throw some scheme things at Florida State just to make it tough. And then I think Florida State's depth and just their overall talent takes over. And, you're talking – I mentioned a guy like Malik Benson. I think Florida State probably with just a little bit more size, speed, team speed all over the place, that starts to take over. And so I'm going to take the Seminoles, by about 14-17. But I think it's going to be into the fourth quarter that they really pull away where their depth just becomes too much. But I think Florida State will be high after this one. But I think Georgia Tech is going to be looking at some things that they can really, really build on. So, man, it's here. I'm excited it's in Ireland. I think it's going to be fun. And give me the Seminoles here in this one.
Yeah, Brad, you pretty much covered everything and beyond for this game. I think the spread right now is 10.5. It was 13.5. It keeps coming down. A lot of Georgia Tech fans betting on this game, Brad, thinking that Georgia Tech's going to keep it within the spread. I would agree with that. The 12 o'clock noon kickoff Eastern time, obviously being played at nighttime, I believe, in Ireland, being ahead of our time. You mentioned all the stars on the field, Haynes King, DJU. You talk about the receivers, you talk about the D-line, you talk about the offensive line for Georgia Tech. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the punter for Georgia Tech, that being David Shanahan. He's originally from Ireland. He gets to go back home and play in front of his home crowd. So Georgia Tech might have some Irish fans on their side that could disrupt the Florida State football team just a little bit. Those guys like to get rowdy over there in Ireland, and I'm rooting for this guy. But to predict the outcome of this game, I completely agree with you, Brad. I think Georgia Tech is a great team. I think they're going to be able to compete with Florida State and keep up with the tempo. Because the tempo is going to be a lot different this year than it was last year with Jordan Travis. And you nailed it right on the head, Brad. What is DJU going to look like? I mean, we pretty much know who he is at this point. He's played 10 years in college football. And I really am curious. Can he limit the bad decisions? Because they don't need him to go out there and be a superstar. They need him to be a game manager. And everyone hates that term. They want to see the 70-yard bomb down the field. I get it. I really do. But when it comes to games like this, look, you're just hoping to get out with a win, get to week 2, and get that team some confidence and keep progressing throughout the season because it's not going to get easier from here. With that being said, I'm going to take the Florida State Seminoles in a close one. I think it's going to be closer than just the third quarter. I think it's going to be a 7 to 10-point game. It's going to be right in that range. Vegas knows something. They always are kind of right on the spot when it comes to spreads. And I think Florida State pulls this one out in the fourth quarter. But man, you mentioned it. College football's back. It's exciting. We're doing one game this week. Next week we've got a full slate for you guys, and we're excited to be back. Be sure to subscribe down below, give this video a like, and share your thoughts with us about who you think is going to win this matchup and who do you think is going to be the best performance. And Brad, real quick, Marvin Jones Jr., you mentioned he's going to be a big time playmaker in this game. Can Haynes King hang in that pocket and deliver it and come out on the other side still in one piece? That's going to be the big deciding factor for me. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.